Good morning. Hello, crafty friends. Happy Saturday. I am Beth Roy, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I'm just going to give Facebook a few minutes to send out my notifications so y'all can join me. If you're watching the replay, say hello and let us know where you're watching from so we can get to know you. Making sure my thing's muted. Okay. So good morning. Today I want to talk about my mini slimline card. And there are some variations in dimensions you can use. So I'm going to go over those. And we're just going to have a little bit of fun with a layout that Freshly Made Sketches put up for the week. So I love using their page as a resource. They do a sketch challenge every week and you can play along. It's great for inspiration. I've actually done the layout that they did many years ago. I did some mini slimlines this similar way. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. And we're going to have a little bit of fun today with some of our products that might get tossed to the side and not used as much, like our designer series paper. So if you pop in, say good morning. I'm just going to adjust my camera just a tad. I'm always adjusting a little bit. Okay, there we go. So, it is still celebration at Stampin' Up. You have until the 28th to earn those celebration items. So with a minimum order of $50, you earn a level 1, and it does add up. So as you spend more, you earn more. And I don't want you to miss out on any of the deals. So this is our celebration brochure. And then we have some add-ons. If you're in my online store and you click on the celebration, there should be a banner, or under specials, there is a link to just the celebration and you can see what's available. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Vicki. Thanks for joining me. So you have a little bit more time to earn some of those celebration things. Some have sold out. I forgot to look at my list before I hopped on. So I don't know exactly which ones, but if you look on the online store, you can see all the current offerings. So I've used a few sets out of here. I've showed you the paper. The paper's pretty. There's lots of goodies to be had if you like to collect during these specials. Now these add-ons are actually from the annual catalog and the mini catalog. And I want to say something sold out for the celebration, but I don't remember which one it was. So I'm sorry for that. But you can pick lots of different things. So now on to my card. Oh, also something I want to mention for celebration. The best deal you can get, and I don't want you to miss it if you spend a ton on Stampin' Up. I want you to enjoy the same perks I have, is the starter kit. And so let me show you that really quick. So at the very back of the celebration brochure, and you can also find this at bethroy.stampinup.net and click on join, and it's going to tell you. It says 3 options, but I like it to break it down to 2 choices. So option 1 is our typical kit. That's $99 plus tax. And you pick $175 worth of product that you want for your starter kit during celebration. That's an extra $50. So pretty big deal because you're picking out things that you want. Now, option 2 and 3 include the mini cut and emboss machine. So you can pick a new color coming in May, boho blue, or you can pick the white one, and that's why there's option 2 and option 3. That kit is $129 plus tax. So you get that mini cut and emboss, and you also get the $175. So our typical kit's $99 plus tax, and you pick $125. That's where Vicky's number came from. During celebration, you pick $175 for $99. So you're essentially getting $76 for free. So I don't know who doesn't want that deal. If you spend a lot, this is for you. And so if you're not sure, message me. Let's talk about it. I can tell you some of the requirements to keep your discount in the future. So that is a great deal, and I definitely want to make sure you know about it. So if you have questions, message me. I'd rather you ask and then say it's not for me than miss when we have extras. The kit is always a great option, but there's always a little bit more during celebration. So I want to make sure that you don't miss that if it's for you. It is awesome. It is awesome. I always wish I could get it again every time it comes around. Now, demonstrators, like we could purchase that for a short time. We had the ability to pre-order that boho blue mini. I already have several die cutting machines, so I chose not to do that, even though I love the color, because it's just, I don't need it. I'm sorry, I'm adjusting my camera a little bit more. Sorry. So if it's for you, I want you to have the deal. I want you to get a discount. If you're buying as much as I am, you deserve to get the discount. So if you ever have questions, just message me. I'd be happy to let you know all the perks. And there are many. Online exclusives. That's something else I forgot to mention. That was under my paper. This is something new. Stampin' Up! Is starting March 1st. So March 1st at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, online exclusives are going to drop. And this was the pre-order for demonstrators. So this is what we were able to pre-order in February. So we get sneak peeks. We get to purchase products early with pre-order if you choose. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to, but I like to choose to do it. And so this gives us a little sneak peek. And there's more coming that even demonstrators have not seen for March 1st. So I can't wait for March 1st too, because I want to see what else, because there's a few sneak peeks in there and it doesn't tell us what they are. We have 2 returning colors coming March 1st. I don't know exactly what's coming. I just know that that designer series paper includes 2 colors that were once in colors or part of our color families, and they went away. So Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock are coming back March 1st, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. So if you're in the Eastern time zone, that's 3. And trust me, I'm going to be popping on there ASAP on the 1st as soon as I can, and checking out what they're coming. These online exclusives will never be in a catalog. They will be online only. Some will be while supplies last. Some will be there for a while. So Stampin' Up! Didn't give us a timeline on if anything has an expiration as to how long they'll be available. So I'm pretty excited about this new venture, this new thing Stampin' Up's trying. And if you like to know these things ahead, that's the demonstrator perk. So, and of course, demonstrators, we tell you, we're not trying to keep it a secret. We want you to be excited. We're excited. But I do want you to have that opportunity. So if you have questions, message me. Okay, today, are y'all excited about our card? We are going to do a mini slimline. And I've changed up my measurements a couple times because I wanted to use certain envelopes. So I want to tell you right from the get-go, you may watch other creators, different people do different measurements. The definition of the slimline is just that it's a slim card and it's long. So it's going to be bigger than your standard card, meaning it's going to be longer than 5 1/2, and it's going to be skinnier than 4 1/4. So as long as it meets that definition, you've created a slimline. And the mini is typically shorter than the 8 1/2 by 3 1/2 or 8 1/4 by 3 1/4 or 8 by 3. So there's lots of different measurements out there, and you can adjust those to whatever you like. Good morning, Dad. Thanks for joining us. So I messed up my layout just a little bit here, and I'm going to tell you my mistake. It's still a great card. But silly me, when I created my strip background here, I cut it for 5 1/2, like I was doing a regular card. And my card is 6 1/4 by 3 1/4. So I just went with it. It's still a great card. It still works. And it's still a layout you can do. That's okay. But today, when we make a card, I'm actually going to make it go from end to end. I'm going to correct my mistake. You wouldn't have known that was my mistake if I didn't tell you, because it still turned out as a great card. So no worries. If you do that, just keep going and see how it turns out. Sometimes we do that, math in our head, and or we forget what we're doing, and well, that's okay. So for this card, I used the Legendary Ride Bundle and let me tell you the right name, Ready to Ride Designer Series paper. So if you have a lot of Designer Series paper sitting around, or you've been cutting it and you have lots of strips left, you can make these backgrounds, and they don't have to be the full card. So you can use up your Designer Series paper. I could have used all cardstock behind this. There are so many ways that you can do this. So we're just gonna go through some ideas today, go through some, creative process here, and make a fun little card. So this card is 6 1/4 by 3 1/4. And I chose that because I bought some envelopes that will fit 6 1/2 by 3 1/2. So I shrunk my card. I normally did 6 1/2 by 3 1/2, but I shrunk it down a little bit to fit into these new envelopes that I got. If you have, I want to say they're A6 envelopes that fit the mini slimline, or you're using the regular slimline, like the number 9 envelope is a little bit smaller than our letter, number 10 here in the US. You can still use those even though your card is a little bit shorter. It just means there's a little wiggle room in your envelope. That's okay. So use what you have. You can also make your own. I don't have a template for this size, so I've just bought something that it will fit. A lot of creators use 6 by 3 for their mini slimline, and then their layers are smaller. I like to make my layers 6 by 3 because that's just easier for me, and then the harder math is my base. It's not really harder. It's just something easier for me when I'm cutting, but we're going to shrink it down to 6 by 3 for our base today, and we're going to see how we can do this layout. And you can use scraps. You don't have to cut a bunch of new things. I have a ton of scraps from doing slimlines and mini slimlines recently, and so we're going to figure out how to use those. Thanks, Vicki. I am human. I mean, I know sometimes we see crafters doing things and it just seems like they never make mistakes. My videos, I do not edit. If I make a mistake in the video, you see my mistake and you see how I'm fixing it, or how I just go with it. That's just who I am. I make mistakes, okay? And like I said on this one, I realized when I went to do my card base, I'm like, oh, I meant to make it end to end. That's okay. This still turned out as a great card. And if you wanted it this size, that's okay too. Maybe you don't like it end to end. change it up to be your style. That's okay. That is okay. Good morning, Jan. Glad you can join us. So, that being said, I am going to change the base a little bit just so that we can see that different size, because I normally, and you think it's only changing in 1/4 of an inch. But that makes a difference if you're trying to fit it into an envelope and you have layers that stick up. So these envelopes I bought, now this might be the brand, they're not real thick, so I'm sure that you could pay more and buy an expensive envelope, but these are called coin envelopes, and they're called that because they close on the side here instead of this way. And I bought these are called number 7 coin, and envelopes have numbers, and that just means that's the size they are and what they fit. So I tried these because I read the reviews and people said they use these for mini slimlines, other crafters. And so it does fit in there even with layers. Now you just want to be careful because these are thin. If you put a lot of dimension or jewels or embellishments or ribbon, it is going to make this thicker, which means it could cost more to mail. I haven't mailed one of these yet. I usually use a bigger number 9 envelope or the Stampin' Up! Slimlines. I have all of those types of envelopes in my stash. I would take, and I save everything, all this cardboard that comes out of my paper packs, my designer series paper. We often have a thin white piece that's kind of slick. I cut that to fit the front of my card, and I slide it in with my card, and that helps protect it from the machine that our envelopes go through. So I just wanted you guys to know that. That's a little, just in case you're wondering, because a lot of times we make these cards and how are you mailing them? Well, this is what I do. So we can, for our card, we can use the motorcycle bundle if you want. Sorry, my words just aren't coming this morning. Or here's something else I grabbed out. I grabbed out this By the Bay. I love this paper. Love it. We can do a colorful card with this. Now I was thinking today, I do have the Seaside Bay stamp set. But if you do not, you can use Friends Are Like Seashells. You can use any lighthouse set you have. You can use we have the Well Done set. We have the turtles. We have the Paradise palm set. So any sea themed set that you have will work with this paper. Maybe you got the paper because you liked it, but you didn't want the stamp set. That's okay. You can pair this with lots of different things. And now the original layout from Freshly Made Sketches. And remember, if you haven't liked their page, go over and do that. They have a sketch challenge every week, and it's just awesome. Theirs went end to end on their card, and it was maybe skinnier. I made mine wider, and it just had a greeting. So I changed mine up a little bit. That's okay. Use the sketch, make it your own, or copy it. And if you share to social media, you can tag them, and you can also see what other people did with their sketch. I love seeing it. I don't participate every single week, but I do use it as a resource. And like I said, this is what my other card looked like, and I might have it around here somewhere. I made it years ago with the same layout. I think I have it. I want to say I've shown you before. Yep, here it is. So here's one I've made that I haven't used yet. And I did a strippy background with a greeting in the middle. So I made this, I think a year or two ago. So this isn't a new layout. But it just kind of refreshes your mind. And I did this with cardstock and just made a really simple card. So theirs just showed the greeting off to the side. You could use patterned paper. You don't have to do strips. You could, I wanted to show you, I have a piece left of this Ready to Ride that I thought, oh, this would just make a good slimline card all by itself after I cut it down to have some strips. So see this piece? You could just trim this down to fit end to end on your card and add a greeting. And there you go. Isn't that simple? And you don't have to cut, you could color this, you could color this, or you could leave it. This is more like a very vanilla and black, very toned down. And there's your card. So very simple, very simple. I love it. So if you don't like doing the strips, I like doing the strips. That's definitely one of my favorite backgrounds. Oh, watercolor wash. You just need to be careful when you watercolor on the DSP or designer series paper or pattern paper, whatever you call it, because it's very thin. A lot of our designer series paper is very thin, and it doesn't hold as much as our cardstock. Hello, Xana. Hey, no worries, no worries. We're just deciding what to do today. So I do have some foxes left that I have colored. If we'd like to do a colorful slimline with our fox. I know I had a little request from somebody the other day when I was talking to them about a card, because it's rainy here. Instead of snow in winter, we have like spring weather and rain for winter. So I did have a little request for that, and I do have some left colored, or we can use this and cut some strips. This is probably my favorite piece. But you can do all the shiny sides. You can mix in. You can do 1 inch. You can do, now remember, I'm going to change the base to 6. So you can do 1 inch. You can do 1/2 inch, whatever you like. So what do you guys want to play with? Do you want to do this paper, or do you want to try something different? I can do cardstock colors. Let's see, I have my little foxes over here. I haven't made any cards with these yet. I have these. I could die cut these and add them. Or we can do a simple card with just a greeting. We can do whatever we want today. Who's awake with me? Xana's up for anything. That's my kind of crafting. Now, I will tell you, if you do a strip background, let's go over some of the things you're going to need. In case you're crafting along with me, I have my silicone mat here, and this is great when you're gluing things because the glue just peels right off, and it keeps your work surface neater. And you can use liquid glue, or let me find my, I forgot to find my tape runner before. You can also use this. Hopefully I have enough left in here. You can use the Stampin' Seal. Xana, I'm not going to faint, but I want to see it. I'm happy you made a card. I know we've all, it's been a weird time for crafting for some of us. Vicky said, will some of the papers go with the fox? I don't know that I used the right colors. This blue might, but these colors, I don't even know where my paper went that tells me the colors in it. Let me see if my catalog tells me. So let's see, By the Bay is on page 23. And I can pretty much tell a lot of times by looking at the paper, but I do like to reference the back. It has the Pearl, which is that white shimmer, gold, Night of Navy, Balmy Blue, Coastal Cabana, and Petal Pink. And I'm going to venture to say it has Sahara Sand in there. But I don't have my little, I like to keep my little cardboards that come with the paper packs. But I I don't know what I did with mine. It's probably here somewhere in the mix of things, but you never know. Let's see, is this it? Oh my goodness. Nope, I've got Fancy Florals and Regency Park, but no By the Bay. And it still could be in here somewhere. It's hard to say. I lose things a lot. I usually pull them out so they're separate, but that didn't happen. Oh well. So I'm going to venture to say it's Sahara Sand. Someone else may know. But hello, Deb. Thanks for joining us. I know, Xana. You're way ahead of us in the day. But I'm glad you joined us in the middle of your day anyway. Okay. And we don't have to have a character or a piece. The original sketch just had a greeting, like my other card, wherever I threw it. It was kind of like this, only that was long ago. That's something I made long ago. So it's kind of like this, but it's going to go edge to edge, and it had a skinny greeting. So we can use this and a greeting, and you don't have to put anything else on it. So let's pick some papers, and we'll just start from there. So let's see. I just love these colors. This is probably my favorite piece. I'm just going through here and I'm picking, you can choose to stay all dark. Where's my favorite piece at? Oh, that has some with birds on it. We've got the goldfish. Now, I like that one. And I like this, and you can use both sides. So see how I'm choosing these so it has all the blues? I didn't pick, whatever that pink is. What did I tell you? Petal pink? Probably. Yeah, petal pink. I'm just going to leave that page open. So we have this one that's shinier. I think I might have already put that over there. So you don't have to make it really busy. You could, I thought there was another one. Oh, there's this one. You don't have to make it really busy. You don't have to have a lot of different patterns. So you could just pick a few. So let's see. And we can put it on a white base. So I typically have a lot of different colored papers. And I have a lot of white scraps. I'm going to grab a little strip here because I have all these scraps. I just want to make sure it's going to be long enough. Okay, so I could do a regular slimline with this piece, this scrap, because it's 8 inches. But I'm going to cut it down, and I want it to go the full length of my card. I'm going to make it 6 inches. So you can cut it a little bit bigger and then trim it down. That's kind of what I like to do because well, I wish I cut everything the same every single time, but I don't. Ooh, Xana, that's a good idea. Make a sign. They're 6x6 pieces, and I think they're perfect. When you want to do like a framed piece, or even if you use some Mod Podge and like adhered it to a piece of wood, like a wood sign, you can buy those unfinished wood signs at craft stores. So I love this. This paper is called By the Bay. And it's just, it's gorgeous, and it's the colors I love. So, okay, so let's start cutting some strips and see what we want to do. Now my strips are going to go up and down, so that's something to think about when you're cutting. Like this has a stripe in it that's a pearlized stripe, So if you don't want your stripes going this way, you need to make sure that you cut them this direction to go onto your paper. And if they're long enough strips, sometimes you can do them back and forth. And you can also do a diagonal like I did on the cardstock piece. But I'm going to bring my trimmer in. So I have my mat and my glue. I'm just going to lay it off to the side. I've got a scrap of basic white. You could use any color. So if you have colored scraps, I cannot talk this morning. Sorry, apparently I haven't had enough coffee. If you have, say, a Night of Navy scrap or a Balmy blue, use use any color, but I have a bunch of basic white. That's what I'm using. So you can use any color. These are about 2 inches wide, so that's good for me. You can make it skinnier however you want. You can make it bigger. Just use your scraps. I'm just worried about the length, so that, and you can trim it down. I'm worried about the length and making sure I go edge to edge with this one. Oh, nice, Santa. Well, you'll have to snag up some of these papers. It is really pretty. And of course, I'm always drawn to the blue. So, all right, let's get chopping. So, I haven't really cut into this paper, so I don't have a ton of scraps just yet. But if I had cut this, for maybe I cut this side for a 4-inch side on another card, then I usually have a 2-inch strip left over, and this is how you could use up those strips. So I like this side. This side would go on here too. It's just, I don't have it very wide. So the whole, you could make your strip so that it fits on there like this. If you wanted this in there, maybe you're doing a little palm tree. You could also, 6 inches, this is the perfect width for our mini slimline. Let me call it the right thing. So you could just, if you just wanted a beach scene, you could just use a full strip. You don't have to do little strips. I'm just trying to figure out how to use up those 2-inch strips. So there is lots of ways to do this. So don't feel like you have to cut your paper up on purpose. You could just do a strip down here from the middle, trim it off, and you have your scene and you build on it. If you don't like doing little strips, but I want a little strip because I always have them left. I'm going to do 1-inch strips. So I'm going to cut this at 1 inch. And I have my stripes going horizontal. So that's going to be one of my strips. This is just going to go off to the side. I can use it for a full sheet or smaller cards. And then I'm going to cut this piece. And I want both sides of this. But I want to make sure. So this side, it doesn't matter which way the design goes. But this side, see how the design goes this way? Now, it's obviously not going to all fit. But I can kind of judge how I want it. So I'm just going to cut a 1-inch strip. And I'm going to put this off to the side. And so this is typically what would happen when I'm cutting things down for cards, only I would have 2-inch strip and then I would just cut it apart. I want this direction. I like the pattern. So it could go this way, but you're not going to get the wavy look. You're just going to get the single color. So I want kind of that wavy look. Again, I'm just cutting 1-inch strips. You could do 1/2 inch. If you don't like it this wide, you could do 1/2 inch or you could alternate. These are not all the same size in this sample. This is 1/2 inch, this is 1 inch, and this is 1.5 inches because I wanted the scene in here. So I made it a little bit wider and then I just compensated with the rest of my pieces. So you can change up the size. You don't have to have them all the same. But we know this, when I cut this down, it's going to be 6 inches. So we know if we do 1-inch strips, we need 6 pieces. The other sides are, oh, I can flip it. So if I want to do this one, because I'm only doing a 2-inch, I can flip this and use the other side too. So right now I'm just making sure I have them in the right direction. And then there's this piece too. You could use both sides. I like the colors in this. I like the colors. Let me cut this end. So I love the colors in this. So I have 4 strips cut, and we need 6 total, and we'll have plenty because our strips are 1 inch by 6. So I'm going to cut this to 6, and it's going to layer onto my card base. And our trimmer is exactly 6 inches if you butt it all the way up to this side. So I love that. I have this for whatever, greetings or whatever I want to use. Oh, so I'm going to, let's see. So these go on like this, and I'm going to cut these at 3 inches. And I may cut another one of these because I think I want this middle piece. And so I might cut another one of those. Let's just do it. Just in case. Depends on how I want to cut it. So, and I'll show you what I mean. So that's what Vicki was saying. So I'm going to cut these at 3 inches. Yes, it's too big. So that's okay. I'm okay with throwing away little bits of scraps. Yes, I love them, Rose. The pearl accents on this is just so pretty in the light. I hope you guys can see it on camera, but maybe not. But it is just gorgeous. Oh, that's a great idea, Xana. I love that you're making an album. I don't have dies like that, so... okay, so I'm going to cut it 3 inches, even though I'm only using 2 inches. So you can keep the little squares and do like a layout with little squares if you wanted. I typically throw them away, but it's up to you. So I'm going to cut this one in half so you can see. So I could do this and leave just a little bit of blue, or I can cut this, and I'm going to show you on this one. I want some of the blue and some of the green. So I'm going to cut at 4. I guess that leaves a little bit. And then I'm going to cut this one. And you can do 2.5. You can do whatever. I'm going to cut it at 2.5. And then I've got 2 little strips there if I want to use them on a different card. So it's kind of in the middle. And I am going to trim it. So I'll adhere this where I want, and then I'll trim it. So there's these strips. This one I cut specific because of the design. You don't have to do that. You don't have to. And if you're doing it thinner or wider, then they're going to look different. So I'm just cutting them at 3. That's the easiest for me. Good morning, Joan. Thanks for joining us from Washington. So, and like I said, we can turn these over. You can use both sides, but this just makes it easier when you're planning. So if you have a specific design, you might need different strips, like I wanted that one, but that's okay. So I have plenty. I'm going to move my trimmer now, and I'm going to bring in my silicone mat. And if you want to protect your space, you can also just bring in a scrap. You know me, I have lots of scrap grid paper laying around here, because once you start to assemble your card, you don't want glue all over the place, because then your card's going to stick down where you don't want it. So I'm taking this strip, it's about 2 inches by 6, and I'm just gonna start kind of laying out how I might want them. I'm not looking for perfect, I'm just looking for how I might like the papers to line up. I want this one in here. And remember, it's shorter, it's okay. This is why you can use strips. They don't have to be all the same. I feel like I need a darker one in there. Let's try this. Now, how do I have a little strip left over here? This is what I'm talking about when I cut. You can always cut it down a little bit, and it could be that I don't have it perfect on this end. I don't know. That's just me. Or you can cut a new strip. Maybe I measured something wrong. I don't know. It's possible. Like I said, I'm not perfect. So that's the idea. You just lay out the strips and see if you like it. If you don't like them, rearrange them. What do you think? Ours might not go quite edge to edge. I might have to trim a little bit of white off, but that's okay. One moment, guys. Hey, Joe, come here. I'll be right back. I just heard my kid run through the house. Joseph, come here. We're the only ones here. No, come here. He went with Daddy and Nate. We're going to Grandma's when I'm done. Okay. Hey, come here. Come here. I can hear you thudding all through my video. Okay, please stop. Come down here and turn this off if you're done. Okay, sorry about that interruption. Joe thought someone was home, and they're not. So, okay. So let's get back to our strips. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts. Do you like how I lined them up? Do you think we need to rearrange anything? I feel like I'm not sure if I like this one on the end. I don't know. What do you think? The shells in the middle, like this. So this would go toward the end. I guess that makes this, because then they would be shiny on both ends. Thank you for the likes. All right, nice, nice idea, Vicki. Sometimes I have to lay things out and let it sit for a second and mull it over and think about it. Now we could use this side too. See how that side is? And it brings in a little brown. So it depends on what you like. I like all these patterns. I really love this designer series paper. And it's in our mini, so that means it's only available until April. Let me tell you the exact date. That way, if you're planning on getting some, you know how long you've got. And of course, once we get closer to the end of this catalog, it's while supplies last. It looks like the catalog's good through May 1st. So there you have it. Okay, so we're going to start adhering. And like I said, I've probably cut something off a little bit. That's all right. I might have cut one of my 1-inch strips a little shy of 1 inch, but we're just going to go with it and we're going to adjust it and we're not going to worry about it. So you can use liquid glue. That can tend to be very messy. I'm going to show you the seal, and oh my gosh, I don't remember how I had that now. Okay, let's hope I put it back on the right way. You guys can correct me. This is still adjustable. So I like to, you put it on, kind of lift up at the end, and this silicone mat's going to keep all that glue kind of contained. And I like to do this just because this is less messy. You can use liquid though. I used liquid on my motorcycle card. So whatever you have, you just want to make sure you can adjust it a little bit. You don't want to use tear and tape because you have to kind of slide it and adjust it. I go one direction, and then I like to also add a strip this way just in case I missed any spots. You want to have a lot of glue. Okay, I'm just getting it all over my thing. I'm not the best with the runner style, but they work. It works. Okay, so I start on one end. I didn't use those, so this. And I do like to pick it up. You get a little bit of sticky, but you want to make sure it lines up with this edge. So you can even turn it over. You just want to make sure it's straight. So if you're getting a specific design and you didn't trim it, you just want to make sure your edge is straight. Now you can adjust with the tape runner, just like you do with liquid glue, with the seal. Stampin' Seal. If you use Seal Plus, it is like tear and tape, and you cannot. Once it's stuck, it's stuck. So you just want to make sure it's as straight as possible because that sets the tone for the rest of your strips. If you get it a little bit of crooked, it's okay, but by the end, it might look a lot slanted. So it depends on the look that you're going for. Don't fret though, it's okay. So then I take the next piece and I just butt it up to that piece, and I'm making sure I'm going high enough that it's covering my basic white and where I have my tape. So then you do the next piece and you just keep going. I love doing this technique for scraps. You have strips, you can use any size you want. I use a 1/4, I use a 1/2, I use an inch. So you can use whatever size you have, and you can mix and match. And even if it's hanging off the edge a little bit, you can turn it over and trim it off. I'm going to show you that when I get to the end. So here's this. And then we're going to do this piece. So I'm just making sure it's straight, and I want to make sure that it's butting up to my other piece. So you're kind of sliding it down if you didn't get it into position and making sure that it's flush or butts up against that other piece. And this is where I went wrong. Somehow I cut like an eighth or a 1/4. That's all right. We'll live. We're just going to trim it and go on. I'll just do better next time. So there we go. Now we want to press it down and make sure all of it is stuck. That's why we put all of that glue on there. We want to make sure that there's no pieces coming up. And that this mat, it won't stick to it. So even though this side has glue, if I have this stuck down, it comes right off. So that's the beauty of having this silicone mat. It's almost a must-have if you're going to do messy things. And drippy backgrounds can be messy. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my scissors, and I'm going to trim along this. You can also use your trimmer if you don't feel comfortable doing this. I'm going, oops, and I already went sideways. I'm going right along using my cardstock that I adhered things to as my guide, and I'm just trimming it off. Like I said, you can use these little squares to make a design. There is a card layout that has little squares, like 1-inch squares like this. Not this piece. This piece is trash, but you could save those and do something with them. Now this little edge, I'm not going to trim that with my scissors. I'm going to use my trimmer. I don't trust myself all the time. So I'm just going to put this in, and it is a little sticky. Like I said, maybe I don't know. Maybe I trimmed it. It says it's 6 inches. I'm just gonna slide it over though. Looks like about 1/8 of an inch. And it could be that my cardstock was a little bit longer. I don't know. It says it's 6 inches, but like I said, maybe sorry, it's sticky on the back here. Let me pull this off. I must have trimmed one of my strips off. That's all right. My goodness. So I'm just going to trim that little piece off because it has glue on it. So I don't want that to go onto my paper. And if you get, this has glue on the back, if it gets on here, just use a wipe and wipe it off. No big deal. Now, if you don't like the size, maybe you wanted it skinnier, you can take this and put it in here and trim it. So I don't know if it was exactly 2 inches, but I'm going to make sure it trims down to 2 inches. So I'm just trimming this little strip off. And now I know it's 2 inches. Now, let's see. Next step would be, like I said, you don't have to add, an image. The original layout was just a greeting. So I'm going to cut my base. So for a 6x3 card, I'm doing 6x6. So I'm going to put my basic white in here. You could also use other colors. You can use any color that was in this. I'm just using white because that's what I have the most of. If you are trying to use up maybe Night of Navy or Balmy Blue, or I want to say this is, it says Coastal Cabana, but it also looks like Mint Macaron to me. Sometimes when they do a watercolor layout, like this looks like it's watercolored, kind of looks like Mint Macaron to me. So you could pull that color out and see how you like it with it. It doesn't have to be exact. It's what you like. So we're going to cut our base to 6x6. I'm going to save this. I can die cut from that. I can do all kinds of things with that. Turn this, and it's 6x6. And guess what this becomes? Look, we have a 6 inch long piece for our next card. So reuse that. It's wider. It's okay. Maybe you have a design you want a wider piece with, or you can cut it down like I did with this one and make it 2 inches. Okay. So once you have your 6x6 inch piece, move that cutting blade out of the way. You're going to go to 3 inches and you're going to use your scoring blade. And you want to go over it a couple of times. I like to make sure I have a really nice crease there. This piece can also become, if you've used, if you want to stamp something, you can also use this piece on the inside and trim a little piece of the edge off and make your layer. So you can do it for the next card, or you can, I like to add a layer. If the front of the card feels heavy, I like to add a layer in there. Just to make it the back a little more stable. Okay, so I've got my 6x3 inch card, and I'm burnishing that edge really well. And then this goes on like this, and I made it a little short. That's okay. I must have cut one of my pieces off. That's okay. We're going to adhere this like this. It's not a big deal that it's not exact. I typically make my strips longer, and then I glue it to an edge and I trim off the excess. So that's a little tip if you want to make it longer and then trim some of it off. But this is, I'm going to use my adhesive remover here on my edge. So these are at craft stores. Stampin' Up! No longer sells them, but you can find them at craft stores, and I'm sure probably on Amazon. It's called an adhesive remover. It just picks up that excess bits of glue. So this is going to have, it's going to have a little tiny bit of white. That's okay. And then we're going to do a greeting. And I just have a strip here. We're going to stamp a greeting and then trim it down. And it's just going to go on this end. And that's how simple this can be. Oh yeah, you could trim your card. If you really wanted it edge to edge, you could trim a little sliver off on your card. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it as is. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. And something else I'm going to do. This has kind of an edge where I trimmed some of them. I'm going to take my bone folder over this and just kind of smooth down those edges where I cut. They kind of stick up. They have a little bit of a lip on them, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to just put a simple greeting. Yeah, I think it's fine. Only I know that that little 1/8 of an inch is missing, and then I didn't mean to do it that way. Just like on the bite card. It's okay. The recipient has no idea what your plans were. They just see a great card. So don't fret over those kind of things. I'm not going to add dimension to this because this is a designer series paper and layer, and then it's a piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to leave it as is, but I am going to tell you some tips that I used on my bite card at the end. So someone remind me, Beth, you said you were going to tell us something about that card. Because since we're not using that image on here, I want to make sure you know my little tip. Okay, so I'm just going to, adhere it the correct way. I'm trying to get it about the middle. It's okay if it's not. And I use liquid glue because I like to slide around my piece a little bit. Yeah, that works. That works. And I'm just pressing it down. And now we're going to stamp something. So I do have that stamp set, but it doesn't have any long, skinny greetings. So I brought out my Happiness Abounds because I love these little skinny greetings. And I want to make this a birthday card. Aw, thank you so much for the love. Thank you, Joan. I think it's fine. Like I said, you guys know because you're on the video with me. If I just gave you this card, you never know that I didn't stamp that exactly as I wanted it and make my strip as exactly as I wanted it. It's not a big deal. It's okay. All right, so I'm going to bring in my Pierce mat or the mat from your Stamparatus. Both work, but this is a photopolymer stamp that I grabbed, and I'm doing a happy birthday. You're just looking for a long greeting. So if you have a long thank you and you want to do thank you, if you have whatever, congratulations was in that set, whatever you want to stamp this with, you can. And I'm just going to use this. So I have, of course, black and basic gray out on my table. What color do you think our greeting should be? So this had Night of Navy in it. It has Balmy Blue. It says Coastal Cabana, but my Coastal Cabana I don't think stamps like that. I think that's more of a watercolored look. Or you can just use gray. If you don't have some of those ink colors and you only have basic gray, it's absolutely fine to use a neutral. And Night of Navy is considered a neutral in the Stampin' Up! World. It's part of our neutrals. But it, you know, either works. So if you don't have that one, that's fine. Xana suggested Balmy Blue. Now we do have a lot of dark back here, so it may show up really well. So, and basic gray. So you know what I like to do? I like to test them out. And I have so many strips. I have so many strips here that we can stamp all of them and see what we like. Don't you love when we do that? And if I don't use it on this card, I can use it on the next card. These are colors I use a ton, so it does not hurt my feelings when we stamp things and try it. You like it as a guy card, Joan? Yeah, I think it can be a masculine card. So there's Balmy Blue. Let me clean my stamp. You notice I started with the lightest color because if I don't clean my stamp, Balmy Blue is not going to hurt Night of Navy. And I would probably do Basic Gray and then Night of Navy, to be honest. I just pulled my stamp off on accident. So that's just a little tip. I like to stamp light to dark when I'm doing this. Okay. And if you wanted it to be like gold or something, you could emboss. But you know, some days I like to get messy and some days not. So, and embossing is one of those things I've got to be in the mood for. Because I just feel like I make a big mess when I emboss. I'm just super messy. Even though I have all the tools and all the things, I'm still really messy. Excuse me. Okay. Now this is Basic Gray. And you can make it a long greeting strip or a short greeting strip. It's up to you. Yeah, Coastal Cabana, yeah. I think it's great. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be mad if somebody sent me this card. I think cards have different feelings. So I always just say, if you know someone that likes this, it doesn't have to be necessarily masculine or, I think mountains and scenes and seashells, and I think that can go either way. I think it's just the colors. Most people think Night of Navy. Ooh, true. Rose suggested you can go back over your stamped greeting with a glitter pen and make it shiny, like it's embossed. True. So here we go. This is our Night of Navy. Let me trim them down. I'm just going to rough trim them. I'm not worried about perfect. Like I said. I just like, and my scissors, I try to keep one scissors that I keep gunky. And I actually have another pair over here that if I'm doing these backgrounds, I try to keep a pair that doesn't have glue on it for this reason. But that's okay. We're just going to go with it. This one's a little bit longer. Oh, I did not cut that straight at all. Man. Oh well. Oh well. Angle it if you're like me. Straight's not your thing without the trimmer. Ooh, clear embossing powder. Yes. But I get really messy when I emboss, even with clear powder. So I do love the look, but I just hate the mess. So, Balmy Blue. And you could even take your scissors and fussy cut around it. You don't have to have a rectangle. Or maybe you have a word die that you like, that you want to put on here. That works as well. So I'm just doing a little strip. There's Balmy Blue. Here's Night of Navy. And the white, because we're stamping on basic white, it does have a little separation. It does have a little separation from that designer series paper. I'll have to look at it later, Joe. Sorry, Joe's asking me a question. And then here is the neutral of Basic Gray. So they all look great. I like all of those. Those are all great choices. Can you guys see well? I do have my light on, so hopefully you can see it well. Vicky said, lay all three at an angle. You mean like this? So that covers up a lot more paper if you want to put 3 strips on. I think that's what you meant. Vicky. Hopefully yes, if you fussy cut around and you don't have as much of the square, the white, the basic white, it's going to look different. So Deb votes for Night of Navy. That's this bottom one. And so did, I think Xana did too. So I think this is what Vicky means. I think. So if you wanted 3 strips, you could do that. A lot of people love the Night of Navy. That's probably what I would have picked too, unless I was just trying to use basic gray on, like maybe I'm doing a card set and I want just one greeting color. I may choose basic gray. But the Balmy Blue definitely shows up. So I like to stamp them so that you can see the different colors and how they show up on your card. But I think Night of Navy is winning. So you could definitely use all 3 if you've stamped 3, or you can save these 2 for another strip background. So I'm gonna move this up just a tad. And I'm gonna move it from the edge just a little bit, and that's where I'm gonna put it. You can use dimensionals if you wanna pop it up, or you can just adhere it flat. I'm gonna use a couple dimensionals. I like to separate my greeting a little bit. You don't have to, you can glue it flat, but I think dimensionals, even for beginners, these are a great thing to have in your toolkit, because it does add a little bit to your card. And it takes just a little, it doesn't take any effort. There's no effort really. You're just sticking dimensionals on. So, easy way to bump it up a bit. And I'm just guessing where I want it. And I'm trying to put it straight, because some of the designs, my eyes tend to follow the designs and then I adhere my things crooked. So there we go. There is our very, very simple mini slimline. And it fits in my envelope. Perfect. Now, this does have some height to it, and when you're mailing it, this may create an issue. You can always stick that piece of backing from your designer series paper, cut it to fit and stick it in there, and it will help it be smoother and not add on that postage. So this is not a Stampin' Up! Envelope. This is just something I got from Amazon. It was a size that I wanted. Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell. You could also use the Stampin' Up! Slimline envelope, and it's just going to be longer than your card, and that's okay. Thank you so much, Joan and Xana. I appreciate it. And whoever gave me all those hearts and likes, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. So we're after 10 o'clock, but I can hang around for a minute if you guys want to make another one. What do you think? Let me know what you think. I can try to do one more really quick, and we can use whatever you want. We can do, let's see, let's make, trying to think what other papers I have nearby. We have lots of papers. Now that you know how to do it, I can do it quicker. We have this Regency Park. Oh, let's see. Hopefully I'm telling you the right ones. I think I got some of them mixed up. I think some of these might be fancy floral. I might have to look one of these. So we have all these really pretty papers that have flowers. It's kind of fun. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate the support. So we have these pretty papers. Like I said, I'm not sure which is which. I'll have to look in the catalog. But we have bright, fun colors and lots of different designs. We have pinks and blues. And, oh, I love this one. I love this paper right here. Let's play with this one. Of course, it has a lot of blue in it again. it has this, let me see what we have here. We have lots of stripes and polka dots and different colored flowers. So I will look and make sure I tell you the right name here in a second. I'm just looking for colors that go together. So you can do this with the stripes. It doesn't have to be matchy-matchy. Because see, look, we have this floral. And this would probably go with that. It's a really bold, this is Mango Melody color. Oh, I'm starting over, aren't I? So let's see, I have these patterns. So I've got a polka dot, that goes with this. I've got a blue stripe and then this blue floral. Let's try those. What do you guys think? I know, I'm picking blues. I'm sorry. I tried to pick a little pink. Oh, thanks, Rose. I appreciate that info. Thank you so much for sharing that. I knew there was a guide, but I like to bug my postal guy at our post office, and I just take everything into him. The joys, the joys. So let's go with these. What do you think? Let's grab that strip that we had left over from our last card. And I'm just going to cut some strips, and we'll see how quickly I can get this one done. Now that you really don't need all the explanation, I can maybe do it a little bit quicker. So I'm just going to cut some 1-inch strips, and I'm trying to get it right on the 1 inch. I don't like it a generous 1 inch. And Joe will probably keep popping in and asking questions. So, so see this stripe? Before I cut my 1-inch strip, I wanna determine, do I want it horizontal or vertical? I'll let you guys vote. Thank you, Linda. I love it too. The slot on the trimmer as a guide. Oh, this? Like this slot? Ooh, wow, that's really thin. Like this, Santa? Because if that's the case, all my cards would need extra postage. And I will tell you, I don't need extra postage on that one that's bumped up just with one dimensional. So my rule of thumb is if you put more than one dimensional, as in, say you did dimensionals on this layer and this layer, you need extra postage. That's my guide, my own. But I'm not sure. So I'll have to check. Because like mail in the US might be a little bit different. I don't know. So I just do like what Rose said. Oh, the slot at the post office. Is that? Oh, okay, Deb. Maybe I misunderstood. I see vertical, vertical, vertical. Yeah, I don't know, Xana. I'm not sure. That is a good guide, though. I think maybe it's a measurement. I just don't know if it's 1/4 of an inch on mine. I don't know. So, yes, so what Rose said. So in the US, if you have 2 layers of dimensionals, it will cost you extra postage. And so that's why a lot of times I just do my greeting on dimensionals, or just one thing has dimensionals. And I try to, if I use dimensionals, then that gives me a guide for when I'm using embellishments, if they're going to cause an issue. So either way, And I'm not 100% sure. I don't know how the mail is other places, so that's just a guide for the U.S. But if all else fails, you just ask your post guy when you go in and make sure you have enough stamps. And they're going to tell you. And I think Rose said, like Rose said, there's a guide that you can have, that you have at home, that helps you. Oh, okay. I think I understand, Deb. I think. But that's I just use my rule of thumb as if you have too many layers of dimensionals, you're paying extra. Or I had, one year we had this card that created a barn door that slid, and it had, like you used weights in it, or what were those called? Washers. And I paid lots of extra postage when I posted those cards, but a lot of times you're not mailing a ton of something like that. So it's okay to pay a little extra every once in a while. Okay, so I'm going to do vertical. And I'm also going to cut one more on this side, even though I probably have plenty of strips. So see, this is already ready to go for a regular sized card. I've used my little strips here just for visual so you can see what I'm using. So I have two very dark backgrounds. I have a pink polka dot, and then I have a white background. So, oh, I need to trim them some more. You can trim them in half. That's my easy way. Or you can leave them big and adhere them on and then trim them off. So you can also adhere them. So maybe you have a 2.5 inch piece and you just want to adhere and glue. Why don't I show you that method too? I'll show you that way so that you know both ways to do it. All right, let me grab my yucky piece of grid paper and my silicone mat, and I'll show you the liquid glue. I'll show you liquid glue this time instead of the runner. So I know this piece is 6 inches because we trimmed it off of our base that was 6 by 6, or at least I hope. Did I do that right? Yeah. Okay, I'm not losing my mind. Oh, I forgot to lay out my strips to see how I wanted them, my pattern. So I'm going to try to do a blue, and then maybe a color, and then a stripe, and then the white. So I'm going to alternate the dark ones. I'm going to start with this piece, though. I'm going to start with this pretty floral piece, and I'm going to make sure that I get it right on that top part. So I want it along the top, and I just put a little bit of liquid glue here, and I want it straight along this edge. So I want these two to be straight, and I'm just going to leave that hang off. It's okay. We're going to reuse that piece. So I'm just making sure it's adhered down. You can look on the back and make sure that it's straight. The liquid glue allows you to move it a little bit. And then I'm going to go to the next piece. Not that piece. I'm going to do stripes next. Or, yeah. Stripes next. And I'm just making sure it's straight on this edge and that it goes up against this piece. So I had enough glue on there for 2. And I need to add some more. And I'm just doing a little bit at a time, making sure I get edge to edge. So I want to make sure that's, and I want to make sure this is right up against it. Press it down. Add some more liquid glue. I'm gonna put this piece down. So once you've done these for a while, you kind of know what you like and you can do it faster. And I love doing this with my strips of cardstock that I have, especially when I have lots of just bits and pieces laying around. Now I got to be careful because I put a little too much glue. I'm going to flip this over and grab those scissors. I'm going to go right along this edge and trim it off. And I'm going to flip it back over. I'm going to use these pieces to start my pattern over again. So I'm going to take this piece. I'm going to refresh my glue here. Make sure I have enough. You don't need a ton of liquid glue when you're doing designer series paper, but for this technique, you want to make sure you have enough that it's sticking everywhere. So I'm just making sure this is on the edge. Oh, and that it goes right up against that other piece. And it's okay if it's not perfect. So I have, looks like one more piece will fit. Can't tell if I'm putting down any glue. There we go. Okay, probably way too much. So I had a striped piece next. Now, if you don't want another striped piece, you could change your pattern and go with the polka dot. But I like this piece. And it's okay, look, this one's a little bit too big. I cut too generous on that one. That's all right, we're gonna trim it off. Or I may have accidentally overlapped. These might have overlapped just a tad somewhere. That's okay. Who knows what we did? It's all right. We just want it on there. So this is a great way to use up those designer series scraps. And yes, we created scraps, but I typically have this kind of scrap when I'm cutting 6x6 paper. Okay, so there we go. Now we just trim this off. You just trim right along your cardstock. And you can use your trimmer for that part if you want. And you can save these or toss them. I typically toss them. I don't like making cards that are that fussy with little tiny pieces. So if you do, then you have a collection. That's great. If you don't, toss it. So there's our strip. Now we could put this on a colored background. I'm going to move this before I get glue on me. You can put it on a colored background. I have a couple extra strips over here. Or we can put it on the white again. What do you guys want to see? Thank you, Joan. I know, I got a lot of hearts, didn't I? Joe says, look at all those hearts. Thank you, thank you. Balmy blue. You want to try balmy blue? Let's get a piece of balmy blue. Okay. All right. I know. All right. So balmy blue, and we're going to cut our piece to 6x6. So 6 by 6. And then I'm going to score at 3. I'm going to move this out of the way. Use my scoring blade. You can also put this up against your trimmer edge if you have a hard time folding it. And then crease it. Okay, so there's our Balmy Blue. Here's our piece. Now remember, it's really wide. So if you don't want it this wide, if you like it skinnier, if you like it a little skinnier, you can cut this. You could even cut it in half and have 2 strips. Ooh, yes, you could use Petal Pink. So you can also use Petal Pink. Let me grab a piece of Petal Pink. I don't use that color too often anymore, it feels like. I go through phases with my colors. Okay, so here's the Petal Pink. And it's okay to try your colors. If you don't like it, use it for a different card. So here's this one. Or, let's see, let me crease this one. I have an idea here. I have an idea. Let's see. Let me get my... Okay, so here's this color. This is Petal Pink. You can trim this in half. Remember, this was 2 inches, I think. Let's see. Oh, it's a little longer than 2 inches. I could cut this at 1 inch and have 2 strips and have 2 cards. What do you guys think? You want to try it? You want me to cut this in half? Let's see. I'm not even sure how big this is. I think it's about 2.5. I think it's about 2.5. So if I cut it at 1 1/4, I think that's about half. And you can eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact. Nobody knows what you planned. So I can take this. Now look, this is going to cut the pink flower off on some of it. That's okay. So I'm cutting it at 1 1/4, and we're just going to see how it turns out. Right? Go for it. Go for it. So now I have a card with Petal Pink, and I have a card with Balmy Blue. And you can put it either direction. You can do it like this or like this, whatever you prefer. Now we just have to add our greetings. And guess what? We already have 2 greetings stamped. We have a Balmy Blue, and we have a basic gray. So before I glue this down, I might switch this around so I can put this like this and kind of put it that way. What do you guys think? Do you like, which way do you like it? Oops, upside down. And this can go in the middle. It doesn't have to go on the end. Thank you. So this is how we play. This is how we play. I love it. And we used our 2 greetings that we stamped previously to check out on our cards. And all I have to do is trim a basic white piece to put on the inside of each card. And guess what? I probably have a scrap somewhere in here. Look at all these scraps I have. I have big scraps. I have little scraps. Look, This is from all my other cards that I cut, my other slimlines. I can cut this down to fit on the inside. And I already have a piece ready to go. I can, if I have a flower stamp to match, I can use it. I could use, if I have any more strips of that paper, I could put a little strip on the inside. Where'd those 2 strips go that I had? What did I do with them? Oh, I threw them over here. Look at this. I can take this white piece. I can cut it down. So, I'm not sure how wide this is. Let me see. This is the perfect thing for grid paper. These are 2.5 inches wide. So my card is 3. So that's perfect. This is 6. So I'm going to do 5.5. Oh, look, that can't get more perfect, right? Used up both pieces of my scrap. I can take this piece and adhere it here, or I can use the stripes, and I can use the polka dots, or, oh, I don't want that side, the polka dots. What do you think? Should I use this on the blue card or the petal pink card? It can be matchy-matchy or whatever. While you're thinking about that, this can also be this side, this blue side, either one. I'm going to go ahead and adhere these down. No, Vicki, I didn't. I don't always have a set plan, but I do like to have fun and get creative. And look, this worked out where we have even more cards in less time. So I'm going to put this about the middle. I just want to make sure I pick one edge and it's straight. So that way, if it hangs over it all, I can trim it off and I know that I at least attempted to get it straight. I'm going to use my dimensionals here. Thank you, Xana. A lot of you like the matchy-matchy. And that's okay. So I'm going to put this right here. That basic gray works perfect with this. Let's go ahead and do this, and then we'll trim it. I might need a little bit more. You could also, if you have one of those banner punches, you could do the end and just make it come down a little bit, and then you have 2 pieces to use on a card. Get creative. Use up all those little bits. Like I said, oh, my son just took off with my scissors. He's getting creative over here beside me. And he just took off, so, okay, I got him back. Oops. Cut straight. There we go. So, like I said, you could even use this and banner it and use a little banner on the inside of your card. If you like using little bits and you like to layer, that's what you can do. Use up what you got. We paid for it, and we got to find ways to use it to the max, right? We want to use every bit of what we bought. Yes, you could make a mat and layer. I didn't do that for these, but yes, that's an idea. You could even use Night of Navy, or if you have a basic gray, because we use basic gray ink. If you wanted a little separation here, you could make a bigger piece and a mat. Oh, well, if I glue paper to my envelopes, to the envelopes, however you say it, I am very leery of it not covering length to length on my envelope, because I always have this fear it's going to get caught in that machine. Here in the US, our envelopes go through a machine, and I don't want to pay extra to have it not go through the machine. So I do it on the flap and things like that, but I try not to glue strips unless it covers really well and I know it's not going to get stuck. But that is a good idea. if you have extra paper, you can definitely cover parts of your envelope. I like to do the flap. So there's the inside of that one. Aren't these cute? I love these. I love this paper. And I will tell you, let me grab the catalog and I'll tell you what it's called here in a minute. Oh, I think I did that backwards. That's all right. It's going down this way now. There we go. There's a little bit hanging off, but it's not too bad, so I'm not worried about it. And then let me adhere this. So you guys think the flowers, or did you like the stripes? Yeah, I do too, Vicky. I will tell Joe you said good morning. He took off. He ran straight out of here. Who knows what he's getting into and doing. Joan votes for the stripe. Anyone else like the stripe? I like stripes too. I tend to always pick the stripe. So while I'm waiting on your answer, I'm going to tell you my little tidbit tip here. Okay, so sometimes you don't want a ton of dimension on your card. And what I did for this little motorcycle, I don't know if you can see it. I stamped this on very vanilla and I die cut it with the coordinating die. Then I die cut 2 more out of basic black. And then I adhered the 2 basic black die cuts together and then my stamped one on top. And if you don't have dimensionals or you're afraid you want a little dimension, a little separation from your bottom there, but you don't have dimensionals, you can always use cardstock layers to add that dimension. So hopefully you can see it around this. So this actually has 3 layers on it. So that's my little tidbit. Okay, stripe it is. Stripe it is. Get my liquid glue here. And I'm just kind of eyeballing this. I know I have about 1 inch left on the bottom. And I've just moved it away from the edge. You could put it on the edge. You can do this however you want. You could put it along the bottom. Like I said, you could use an edge, or the punch, or even we have edge dies. You could make it a V or a banner and then use the other piece on another card. And you can make it only go halfway down. I like to do that too. So there's lots and lots of ways to do this. Yes, I like to do that too, Joan. Sometimes if I have something and I feel like it's too flimsy, and say I did a die cut circle, I just stack 2 or 3 together and it makes it sturdier. And then this goes on the inside. We have plenty of room for our message. And there we have it. So we made 3 cards today. So exciting. And if you don't like this on the left-hand side, put it on the right-hand side. Maybe you like it over here. Let's do it a little bit different. Oops, I forgot. That doesn't go to the edge. Let me slide that. Nah, maybe not. It's stuck. There it is. Uneven. That's all right. It's okay. I don't think anyone's going to throw a fit. And if they do, they're not getting any more cards from me. Just smoothing that edge down a little bit. So you can do it either way. You could have put it along this way. Maybe you had a long strip left. Or like I said, you could even do it this direction. And if you have maybe 1/4 of an inch, you could do a little tiny banner edge, or you could do a slant and just put them on the inside. Use up your scraps. Use them up. You could even do corners. So if you you had 4 of these and you wanted to do the corners on the inside, do it. Okay, so there's our cards. I need to crease these a little bit more. There's our 3 cards we made today. I hope you've enjoyed this and that you're going to give the mini slimline a try. Oh, also, like Joan said, she likes, or Xana, I think, said, if you wanted to do a mat, you have all these extra pieces that you cut off when you were creating your card base. So you could, even though it's matchy-matchy, you could create this, or you could mix and match. So if you've been making a lot of cards, I have neutrals that are hanging around that size. You can add those in. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this morning and hanging out with me and going through the creative process of making a card and planning it. Today, for our ink colors, we used Basic Gray, Night of Navy, and Balmy Blue. And we used, let me tell you the correct name for this paper. So we used By the Bay. I'm going to go right back here to the back to the index and cheat. So By the Bay, and it looks like we used Regency Park was this paper pack. Regency Park. They're both 6x6 packs. So really easy to trim strips off and use all the bits and pieces up. Yeah, I don't think so, Vicki. No one's really noticing that except for probably other crafters. And honestly, if I got a card, I'm not sure I would notice it if I wasn't the creator. So don't worry about little things like that. Thank you, Joan. Have a great weekend. If you have any questions ever about this process, the card making, the measurements, I am going to try to go back and edit and put the measurements in so you have them on the video without trying to hear all of those. Thank you, Vicki. Yes, he's here for a little bit longer. So we are enjoying that time. We're going to go meet up here after the video and do some things. So, oh yes, thank you, Vicki. Thank you. In case you didn't see my post, Thursday, I celebrated 7 years with Stampin' Up! I've been doing classes for about 6.5 years of that time. And I've been doing live videos for a few years. I was kind of late to that bandwagon. I was such a nervous wreck about doing live videos. And I'm so happy that my friends kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me to expand and explore, because I've enjoyed meeting all of you. I've been so blessed by gaining you in my stamping tribe, even though we don't live near each other. It's been so wonderful. I've really, really enjoyed it. So thank you so much, Vicki, for that. I appreciate it. Oh my gosh, I feel like there was something else, but I don't know what. If you want to check out the Join special, that's until February 28th, you can go to bethroy.stampinup.net. You click on Join. If you have any questions about what joining means or getting that starter kit, no, you don't have to run a business. You can be a discount shopper. I have many of those. Ask away. Ask away. Private message me. Let's have a chat. Let's see if that kit is for you so you can save some money. Or maybe you do want to do live videos and classes. You can do that too. You can also shop from bethroy.stampinup.net. You can click on shop and you can see all the wonderful products we have available. You can also see the celebration and the clearance rack or whatever you're looking for. So anytime you have questions, message me. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you spending time with me. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Take care. If you share my video, please let me know. Say shared so I can thank you for that. I can't always see because of privacy issues if you shared. And if you gave me some love, I appreciate that as well. Thanks for hanging out. See you soon. Take care.